Ian and myself had been working together at Cosgrove Hall, the company based in Manchester who did Danger Mouse and The Wind in the Willows. Had to lay all their staff off in 1992 and 1993. They did it in 2 phases. And so we were kind of faced with the situation of being out of work. And I think Cosgrove Hall, had it continued, we would never, maybe not never, but I mean, the chances are that we wouldn't have rushed into setting up the company because it was a very good company to work for. But having lost our jobs, it seemed worth a punt. So in 1993 we established a partnership, and then in 1995 we started a limited company.
Let's talk milestones. When did you think we're Mackinnon and Saunders?
Still trying to figure that one out.
I think a lot of the projects they sometimes they come to us quite early stages, and they might not actually happen for another 2-3 years, or sort of even longer. We've some of the TV series, they take a long time to finance, so it's sort of you're waiting for the go ahead on something, and you think it's gone away. A couple of years later, it comes back. With Bomb Builder, it happened sort of pretty quickly. It just seemed to all work, I know, sort of so well together, and who knows why, I know, sort of one show is more successful than another, but up until then, we were always saying to people, I know, sort of, we do work a little bit like Wallace and Gromit, because I know everyone knew some of the shows, but I know, sort of, I think when we got to working on Bob the Builder, suddenly you could say, we work on Bob the Builder, and everybody knew what the show was about. So it was a bit of a milestone for us. And then I know some, completely out of the blue, I know sort of a phone call on Tuesday afternoon saying, I know, would you come to New York and meet Tim Burton to talk about a project? And a week or so later, we're in New York talking about Mars attacks. And a couple of weeks later, we've got a team of sculptors over in Los Angeles, and we're starting work on the film. It can happen as quickly as that, and that sort of again changed the fortunes of the company from being 5 or 6 of us, and sort of working on a variety of projects. So suddenly there was 45 of us in Manchester and another 10-15 of us in Los Angeles. So within a matter of weeks, that sort of the whole thing kicked off.
Well, what is it like working with Tim Burton and Wes Anderson and things like this? I mean, obviously it's great getting the phone call, but is it a different relationship to these guys?
They're both very different. Although one common denominator is that they're both really enthusiastic. I think Tim is great, and one of the things that perhaps may surprise a lot of people, they tend to sort of think that he does these very kind of noir films, a kind of gothic thing, but he's actually a very, very funny person, and it's always a delight working with him, because not only is he very enthusiastic about what he does, he really, on the occasions he's been up to the workshops in Manchester, by the time he's left, everybody's absolutely buzzing with enthusiasm. He's a real inspiration as well.
Yeah, and his films, I don't know, people could say his films are dark, but I know they're full of real emotion and sort of humanity, and incredibly funny. One of the first sketches we saw from Corpse Bride, is a dead dog with a knife in its back. But I know the way it was drawn, and the sort of, it was an appealing character, and it was cute, and it was called Cute Dog with Knife in Back, and and only Tim could get away with that. There was nothing repulsive about it or horrific, and he has got a great sense of humour, and he's really good with and I think he appreciates the team of artists that work on his films, and he really likes to chat to them about what they're doing and how the process of the puppets being made.
You're asking about Wes Anderson. I think when he was doing Fantastic Mr. Fox, he's perhaps less knowledgeable about the techniques of stop frame animation than Tim is, but he very clear idea of what he wanted to achieve, And we met him for an initial meeting probably about a year before we actually started working on the film. And he gave a very brief description about how he saw the puppets for Fantastic Mr. Fox. He said, I want these characters to look like stuffed animals that have come to life. And we kind of were a little bit lost when we first started working on the film, because we thought, well, he can't really mean that. Perhaps he wants this on that or the other. But when we eventually got the puppets kind of approved to what he was wanting, it turned out that it was as simple as that. He wanted puppets that look like stuffed animals that have come to life, and he'd say, I just want fur. I want them to have real fur. I don't want it sculpted fur. I don't want it stylized. And we're saying, well, it'll crawl. It'll look like it's rustling all the time as the animators handle it frame by frame. He said, it doesn't matter. It'll give it life. And I knew you watched the film. We went to see it down in London on the first screening of it, and we were terrified that this Mr. Fox would just be this blur of crawling fur. And in actual fact, you don't really notice it, do you? After the first few minutes, you just get, he's a great script writer and a great director, very different from Tim in his approach to filmmaking and direction. But it kind of worked because he was trying to do something, very kind of retro, but in its own way quite groundbreaking.
What's the next 20 years going to be like?
God.
I know, so I think the last 20 years taught us not to actually try and plan anything too far ahead.
It also has to be said that the really important thing for Ian and myself are the people who work for us, and if we could, if we could have the same group of people around us, for the next 20 years, I think we'd be incredibly happy people, because we're supported by a really diverse and talented group of people. Both some have been with us for since we started 20 years ago. Some have joined us within the recent years, but they're all as precious to us as each other, and it makes going into work every day a pleasure, doesn't it?
It does.
So if we can continue to work with these people, in some respects it doesn't matter what the projects are. We get to work with these people and continue to work with them, and we'll be very lucky people indeed.